we sell a commodity, right? We sell playing cards. And the strange thing about the playing cards that we sell is that no one really likes to play with them. It's strange in a sense because the cards have kings, have queens, have numbers, and have suits, but no one really likes to play with these cards at all. And on top of that, we actually price these cards pretty high. So we sell playing cards that are 4 times the price of the average deck. So if you would go to 7-Eleven and look at Aladdin's, you guys have seen Aladdin's before, right? Those cost about $4 a deck, but we sell our cards at about $16. $16 a deck. And the strange thing is this, it's not like our cards are created by some fancy design studio, it's not with some special paper. If you were to look at how our cards are made, it's actually very, very similar to the average deck that you would see, which means if you look at Aladdin decks at 7-Eleven, it's made of the same basic materials. But here's the really strange thing. Even though it's made of the same materials and it costs that much, every single person who buys the deck buys 4 decks at once. Which means instead of buying one deck and just keeping it in the cupboard for like 20 years, and then buying a new one after it decomposes, they buy 4 decks at a go, right? They use it for 4 weeks, they throw it away, and then after that, you can sell it for $400 on eBay. Now the question is why? Why would you be able to sell a commodity like a basic deck of playing cards that people don't play with, made of the same materials, and suddenly you can put it on eBay for $400? So I'm going to share a bit with you about that. Now a bit more about this deck. If you go on Instagram, you see the deck has its own hashtag. There are thousands of people around the globe using it from 73 different countries. And this July, you'll see that there'll be a half-an-hour documentary that talks so much about this deck and why people buy this deck. And it's very strange because we managed to take a commodity that is, something that people don't really put much value to, and we turn it into a luxury item. Now, more importantly, it's not so much how do you turn a commodity into a luxury item, right? More so, if you could take the ideas I'm about to share with you today, then you could then apply them to have people desire anything that you offer them. So I'm going to talk a bit about what we do, okay? Now, at this point of time, we have about 50,000 followers all over the globe from about 180 countries. But it wasn't always that way. It really was quite sad. Our parents didn't understand what in the world we were doing. They didn't agree. I was in ACS, and every day the table would be there, my hands are under the table shuffling cards, and most of the time we were broke, right? So I want to share with you about a 3-step formula that helped me very, very much, and I call it change, connect, create. Now, if any of you guys are thinking, oh cool, that's the theme. Well, actually it's not the theme, it's the exact opposite of the theme. Now, the reason is usually we're told to create something we believe in, right? Connect with the people that we feel this is for, and then change the world, the 3 steps to profit, right? Create, connect, change. And for the most part, it's true. It's true, but the thing about that is the result. Often what you create and you connect, and when you change the world, those are the results of what you have developed over time. So, beneath the surface, before something is created, it's often the exact opposite, which means you don't begin by going, create, it doesn't really always work that way. So I'm going to use TED's slogan. Okay, TED's slogan is, who knows? Ideas worth, that's right, ideas worth spreading. It's not ideas you force upon people and tell people, you must listen to me, right? That's not how it works. And the thing about an idea worth spreading is that an idea worth spreading is something that people are so inspired by that they can't help but share it with other people. And that's what you see with viral videos. That's what you see when people just can't help but share, when this guy shares it with that guy shares it with more people, and this whole network effect happens, and suddenly there's change. Now, what makes an idea worth sharing? Now, this is where the whole change, connect, create thing comes in. I believe it starts from a vision of what you want to change first, and then you figure out, this idea is developed to how do you want to connect with people, and then you begin on creating the thing. So a lot of it is about the development that happens before the creation, so that change isn't forced upon people. That means when change comes about, you're not putting your idea out there and telling everybody out there and saying, you must believe in this and please change. It's more so that change becomes a natural result of what you put out there. Change is inevitable almost. And the thing is this, if you want to inspire change that happens in reality, you want to begin with change in mind. And how do you do that? How does this apply to this $400 stack of 52 pieces of small paper you can place in your pocket, right? Here's how. So what he mentioned was that I play with cards for a living. We're not a card company, we are a cardistry company. So let me explain what cardistry is. Cardistry is made up of two words, card and artistry, and it's known as a subset of card magic. The problem is this, so let's say I have a deck of cards here, right? And card magic often is where I make something appear or disappear, but cardistry is more so doing stuff like that. All the little stunts and little nice eye candy stuff where you can do stuff in slow motion and say this is a fan and this is a card. This is cardistry. But as you can tell, there's nothing magical about cardistry at all. I'm not trying to fool you into thinking, well look, he cut that card. Was it illusion? No. There's no illusion to do with that at all. And the problem is this. It was a subset of card magic, not because it was magical, but because the first guy who started doing this whole thing happened to be a card magician. And over the years, these card magicians would do their magic acts and include these little fancy flourishes inside. And so over time, the lines were blurred and became a subset, which was very sad because right now, thousands upon thousands of magicians look at cardistry and they go, oh, it's not very magical. In fact, it's known as the branch of card magic that's not magical at all, which to me is pretty strange, right? That's kind of like looking at a dancer and saying, oh, your dance is not very good, huh? Not a lot of acting inside, which is pretty sad. And as someone who studies both cardistry and card magic, it made no sense to me at all. Because it's so sad, right? There are all these people who actually enjoy this craft that is aside from magic, but you don't have the support of the big magic companies. To begin with, magic isn't the most profitable industry by default. People don't really say, oh, you want to make it big, boy, you go into magic. It doesn't work that way. So the lack of support essentially hindered the growth of cardistry. So magic is this niche in itself, and cardistry is this niche within a niche that the niche companies didn't want to care about. And even though there were these card flourishes around the globe who really, really wanted this thing to move forward, they weren't considered a large enough market. So in that case, we figured we want to change things. We wanted to change, and this was our vision of change. We wanted it to become this independent, standalone art form where there'll be people performing stuff. We wanted it to be more mainstream, hoping that there'll be other companies besides us that would, invest their funds into it and hopefully help it to grow. And obviously, we wanted our numbers in our bank account to go up, right? Because everybody wants to do what they love. And personally, I'm pretty afraid to end up in a position where I have a job and I hate it, but I'm too scared to quit. We didn't want to be in that position, and that was scary. But that's the first step, change. So now we knew what we wanted to change, we knew why we wanted to change it, and we wanted to create something very, very special. But we can't just jump straight to, oh, let's go create something now, we need to change things. And that kind of brings us to this point here. How can we convince people by connecting with them? Everyone says, oh, we need to connect with people, you need to empathize with them, you need to understand how they feel before you can change their minds. And it's true for the most bit, but usually the people who set out to change the world, right, they begin with this whole thing where, oh, this is what you need to do, you need to be more patient, you need to be more kind, you need to be more disciplined, you need to eat less or whatever, and we often feel that they need to shut up, right? And it's because we know what we need, we just don't always want what we need. So we always begin with these three questions when it comes to how to connect with people, which is what are their needs, what are their wants, and what are their desires. Intuitively, we all know the difference between a need and a want, right? You guys kind of know, yeah, I need this, I want that, okay, I should stick with what I need. But we don't usually think about what do we desire. And to me, it's actually a very different thing. So people are usually these irrational beings that make decisions via their emotions, right? Not their logic. So even though we really don't want to kind of get fat, I want to focus and not eat this piece of cake, I want to, so I'm nom, the usual stuff happens. So how do we make someone, therefore, desire what they need? Rather than force it upon them and say, oh, you must do this, how can I make it so that suddenly what I need is what I want? How can you merge the two together? Okay, so let's figure this out. Now, in my industry, we started by saying, okay, how do we turn this into this big standalone thing, right? What do card flourishers need? What do these people need? And we realized, well, the first thing that a card handler needs would be cards, right? Make sense? Now, the next thing that they need is this. They needed a sense of ownership. But we weren't going to tell them, you know, you need a sense of ownership in order for your art to stand alone. So that we figured we were going to do something for them that would give them that sense of ownership, that will make them crave it and want it. The next is, what do card flourishers want? And when we started observing the industry, we looked around and everyone was asking the same question. Everyone was saying, what is the best deck for cardistry? How can I get this deck of cards and then I can become really, really good at card flourishing? And that's kind of what they thought. I would have these tools, right? I'll have these tools, and maybe if I use the right tools, I will become a better card flourisher. So we went a bit deeper and we asked, what does it mean to be a better card flourisher? And the answer is that I'm simply doing this aesthetically pleasing, eye candy thing. So to be a better card flourisher, I would want my stuff to look better. Seems quite logical so far. So far so good. We know they need cards that give them a sense of ownership that hopefully makes their stuff look better. Okay? And then we ask ourselves, what do card flourishers desire? And now here's the strange part, because everyone thinks wants and desires are the same thing. But they're not. Usually people see wants as a means to what they desire. So I want money, but I really desire peace and joy and happiness. And somehow many people believe that what they want brings them what they desire. So we ask ourselves, okay, so what do these card flourishers really desire? Do they just want to make the stuff look better? Not really. If you think about what they really, really want, they, to some degree, say for myself, when I first started out this whole thing, I wanted to be known and famous. I wanted to feel artistic. I wanted to feel cool and have this sense of significance and eventually contribute back to this community. That's what I wanted. I desired. Subtle, right? So, we figured this whole thing out, right? We said, okay, these are the answers to these 3 simple questions, and then what to create became clear, right? We need to give them a deck of cards that will then give them this sense of ownership, right? And look, make them feel this sense of cool and artistic thing. I'm going to be very honest because, you know, a lot of people say, oh, you know, so you try to make them feel cool and artistic. Yes, because guess what? People want to feel those feelings. And we wanted to give people a way to stand out and for a way to help them contribute to the community without just saying contribute to the community. We wanted them to desire these things. So, how? We created this thing, the thing that was in my pocket just now, called the Virtuoso deck. And it's the first and the only deck designed for cardistry. Now, it's very, very strange because most people would tell you, what do you mean designed for cardistry? So let me explain. Now look, what we did was that while our competition was focusing on how do you make the best deck of cards, they would say, we'll use premium materials and this way you have a very well handling deck. You know, and then from there, everyone will be able to become better. But we figured, if you want to make your card flourishes look better, why not design it to make your card flourishes look better? Right? Why not go straight to what people are looking for? So we spent 2 years and we designed it in this way. When the cards would spread, they would form these bands of color. You can see the arrow at the bottom that gives it that flow. When the cards were fanned, they would form patterns. When the cards were fanned in the other way, they would appear to change color. That's one deck, red and blue, because of the way the cards are designed. When they were displayed, if you compare this side by side with another deck, they gave this feeling of expansion. And now when they rotated, you know, on camera, you can see that there's a stroboscopic wagon wheel effect. There's an optical illusion when you spin the cards. The lines would swirl and, you know, everything would stroke, and when they cascaded through the air, you can see that the shapes connect in 3D space. And that's really, really cool. But something being cool is very, very different from making someone feel cool. How do you make card flourishes them feel like they were cool and they were artistic, right? A product is one thing, but how do you make them feel that way? And this is how. We are very, very heavily inspired by fashion. We love these things, and so we borrowed directly from the fashion industry. We took the focus away from the hands and we brought it to the entire body. If you look at that guy's shoes, those are my shoes, the pants, those are my pants, and my bag's behind as well. So that's actually me. Now, we made it so that they could play a part in creating this whole artistic thing. Card florists would form a display when they put multiple boxes together. It wasn't this boring commodity that was on the shelf. Suddenly they could do artistic things. Instead of jokers, that's in every single deck around, we took these 4 cards, right, that were jokers, we turned them into a larger version of the back design. And guess what? You can form them, you can frame them, and suddenly, what's that? That becomes art, right? Now they're not jokers anymore. So how then would you help them to stand out? Well, first of all, there's no deck around that looks like this. I can't look at somebody and say, no one can tell me, what does this look like? There's nothing out there. There's no frame of reference. And so immediately, if someone were to look at this, say, what is that? I've never seen something like that before. Immediately, it was a conversation starter. And obviously, we would, in our marketing campaign, eventually tell people that, by being a part of this thing and supporting our work, what you're doing really is you're helping to push the art forward. So we spent 2 years creating and designing the best deck of cards we could think of, but that really wasn't enough. Still wasn't enough. We weren't going to throw this product out there because beyond creating this product, we had to create a cool idea. Let me explain. People don't buy products. People buy future versions of themselves. Okay? And so we created, number one, the first company dedicated to cardistry because that's what they needed. And then for the deck, we wanted to create content that would resonate with people. Basically, what we did was we created content that would appeal directly to their desires while demonstrating exactly what the deck did. So I'm going to show you what it is and you'll have an idea of exactly what we do. This is called airtime. Just gonna cut it short because there's like no time. But you kind of get the idea. Basically, this video went viral. People started desiring this product, not really knowing why they wanted it. And from there, we could start sharing with them more about the product, about the actual features, about why it was the best deck for cardistry, because suddenly people were paying attention. Basically, in the past 2 months alone, after this whole thing went out there, our revenue for the past month has been pretty much double what we did for the whole of last year. Suddenly, all these people around the globe are handling our playing cards. And then there are all these new card companies now who are entering this industry, looking at what we've done and saying, we want to enter this category too, and they're offering us amazing financial support. So just like that, think about what you want to change, what you want to connect, and what you want to create. And this way, I believe you'll be able to help people desire exactly what you want to offer them. So, yeah, thanks guys.